Just
Folks,
take
we're with
my
Dan and Shay
hand.
today. Guys, thanks so much
I'll
for
be
doing this.
Course.
Welcome to Toronto.
It's good to see you, dude.
Good to see you guys again.
Absolutely, man.
Let's maybe start off, maybe where you guys got started, back in Nashville. You both grew up in different areas of the country.
Yeah, man. I grew up in Pennsylvania, and Shay grew up in Arkansas, and we just both moved to Nashville. We loved songwriting, we loved country music, and that was the place to do it. And we've both been doing separate things for a while, and we just randomly met at a party. Mutual friend, Shay came over to my house, which was like the worst house ever. No heat, no air conditioning. It was terrible, man. No locks on the doors, and we just started singing together. We were singing covers till like 4 a.m. and singing Rascal Flatts songs and Keith Urban songs. And the next day we wrote a song, and actually that very night, that Rascal Flatts put that song on hold, and we were like, "Oh my, Rascal Flatts heard our song! What? We made it! We thought we made it. We didn't make it,
Yeah.
but it was really cool, and we just never stopped writing ever since. We wrote like 2 or 3 songs a day, and we eventually became a duo, just kind of by accident. We became friends throughout the process, and here we are, man. It's so cool to be still doing the same exact thing, and still the same clowns we were that night we met, December 7th, 2012.
Cool that you actually remembered the date.
Yeah,
That's right.
You
It's
know.
hard to forget. We actually, coincidentally, December 7th in 2015 was our first number one with Nothing Like You. It's just kind of crazy that it happened that way, but that was our first number one was the same night that we met, so that was pretty great. Can't make that. It was pretty nuts.
That's almost
So we'll
like
always remember
storybook,
that.
right?
Absolutely.
Storybook. Let's talk about that first album back in April of 2014, right?
Yep.
I know you got a new one coming. We're gonna get there, but maybe tell us what it was like making the first album, because we're gonna relate it back into making the new one.
It was April 1st. It was on April Fool's. We were really hoping that they didn't trick us and like, oh, you guys don't actually have a record deal. We're not putting this out. We're like, oh, dang it. That's fine, whatever. But no, it was. It started. We actually just wrote a bunch of songs together. Like Dan said, we wrote so many songs together. This guy named Danny Orton. We wrote a lot of songs with him in his basement, and we would just do these these demos and things like that. And Dan would do them on his laptop, and we would do the demo. And when we kind of got a record deal, it was one of those things where we were like, all right, when are we going to go cut the record? And they're like, well, you've done it already. You know, these are great demos. And we're like, oh my gosh. So that kind of happened by accident. You know, just we were making the record, and a lot of those songs, we had vocals on there that it was just maybe like 1 or 2 takes that we just did for a demo or something like that, and then ended up being the actual album. So it was pretty fun to make that last album, and we definitely know what we're doing a lot more than the first album.
So let's talk about that. Now we're, Obsessed drops very soon. Maybe tell us what the process was like that was different from stage 1 or album 1 to album 2.
Yeah, man, like Shay said, we kind of knew what we were doing a little bit more on this record, and, we had the opportunity to go in some of the best studios in the world and work with some of the best players. On the first record, we were kind of tinkering on guitars, and we're not great at guitar, but we tried to figure it out and make it happen on the album. But this go around, we got to work at Ocean Way Studios in Nashville and in Blackbird Studios, and have some of like the most amazing musicians. We had Nir Z play the drums, who's incredible, and Gordon Mote on the keys, and Brian Sutton on the guitar, and all these fantastic players. And we just sort of sat back and watched them like just jam and make magic. And we were like, change this or tweak this, or let's try to go here or bring more energy here. And it was just like this crazy process. And the whole time we're thinking like, how did we get so lucky to get to do this? And you can hear it on the album. It's just this really unique sound that has our flavor of songwriting and our melodies and our harmonies and just vibes all over it. And it's just got like really great country instrumentation that I can say that because we didn't play this stuff. We had like great players just rocking, and it was a pleasure to make that record, and we had fun in the process. And I think you can hear that, and I think the fans will have fun listening to it. And the response has been nothing but positive so far. So knock on wood, it stays like that.
Okay, so let's talk about it. There's 10 tracks on the album. You guys wrote 8 of the 10.
Yep.
That's a tough thing to do today. A lot of artists aren't writing 8 of the 10 songs on their album.
Sure.
Especially if it's your second or third album, because you kind of get tossed an odd song that as everybody says, best song wins.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's been our mentality throughout this whole thing, man. We always say that, and it really is important to us that we have a responsibility to our fans to make the best album we possibly can. And there were songs that we loved that we left off because there was a couple songs that we heard that we were like, these are great Dan and Shay songs. And we're huge fans of the songwriters in Nashville. There's so many talented people, and there's like millions of songs out there that will never see the light of day. And it was an honor for us to be able to take 2 of those songs and be like, man, these are hits. We got to have these on our album. And we don't have any pride to be like, oh, we have to write every song on the record. And our last record, we wrote every song on there, and,
Yeah.
and it just kind of happened naturally like that. You know, that's how we write the best. And so we had all these songs, and we heard those 2 songs, and we're like, this has to be on this album, because even if, you know, we could have put other songs on there, and, you know, it would have been fine, but we felt like for this project right here, you know, it fit perfectly. Those 2 songs were just, that was it. So we, you know, the songwriters are the rock stars in Nashville.
Yeah.
And so it was an honor for us to be able to cut a couple of our buddies' songs, and it just fit right in there with the Dan Shay sound. And I think this album is the best representation of every song we love. So I think this is the best representation of the Dan Shay. This is Dan Shay 2.0.
So your first single, From the Ground Up, you know, it was released maybe 3 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
We started to hear it in Toronto here not too long ago. What's the success from that one been like for you guys?
I mean, that's a really special song. We actually we wrote that about our grandparents, and you know, I was driving back from my grandfather's funeral, and we were recording vocals on another song that I had no intentions of even writing, and we just got to talking, and Shay's grandfather was in the hospital at the time. It was like a crazy emotional couple weeks for us, and we were just chatting and sharing stories about our grandparents, and both of our grandparents were separately married for over 65 years, and that's like, it's crazy, you know, that's a true love story right there. And we were just like talking about growing up and going to their house as kids, and literally the song kind of wrote itself. Like an hour and a half later, we had this thing and had like a little acoustic demo of it, and we knew it was really special to us, but it wasn't until we started playing it for our label and our management team and our friends and family that people were really reacting to it, and we're like, there's something special here. And it was a vulnerable moment to put it out there as a single. You know, if people didn't like it, it would hurt pretty bad, because it's a personal song. But fan response has been incredible, and country radio is playing the heck out of it, and we're watching it climb the charts, and we couldn't be more proud of that thing, man.
Well, it's funny because we talk about country music. It's about writing stories, right?
It is, yeah.
You know, like, and don't get me wrong. There's many genres now of country music, but it's still the heart of the story,
Absolutely.
and that absolutely encapsulates a great story.
That's how we've always said. That's why we fell in love with country music in the first place, is because the way it could make you feel, and it could just have this story, and it's just right there perfectly, just with a bow. It's just perfect, this story, and you know, you kind of just get it in your mind. And I feel like a song, more than just telling a story, sticks in your head because it's also with a melody.
Totally.
And I feel like no matter what way that you get it there, I feel like the melody and the beat and all those things are kind of the vehicle to get the story in there. So it doesn't matter how you want to get it in there. You just got to get that story across, you know, the best possible way. And I know that, you know, there's sometimes people are like, oh, this isn't country, and not necessarily from the ground up, but, you know, newer stuff that, you know, might have more of a beat or whatever it is. And you know what, that's people are telling stories, and I think it's cool. You know, whatever way that you want to translate, you know, your country music and your story, I think is I'm all for it.
Absolutely. Let's talk a bit about your live show. You know, when you wrote the new album, was that a consideration of how can we fit 7 of these songs into our live show?
The Obsessed album, we had our live show in mind, and you know, being out on the road the last couple of years, we realized like it's all about dynamics, and we wanted to make a very dynamic album. And we saw that the songs that were reacting the most in the live show were the super, super high energy songs. Like we covered Bon Jovi and Journey, and we also covered Ed Sheeran, Thinking Out Loud, which is, you know, a ballad, you know, really stripped down, and we sang it with just an acoustic guitar. And that's kind of what we did on the album. We have songs that are up-tempo and rocking, like Round the Clock, All Nighter, and Road Tripping, but we've also got stuff that's vulnerable and stripped, like Already Ready or From the Ground Up or even Obsessed, where it's kind of just this chilled out, laid back thing. And in the live show, you know, when you want somebody to chill out, let them chill out. When you want them fist pumping, jumping, and rocking, then give them exactly what they want. And we did that on the album, and there's a lot of ups and downs, and no 2 songs sounds the same, which is really important for us when we were putting the record together. And I think it'll be cool for the live show, you know.
Awesome. Let's touch a bit on social media. Being young artists, you know, you can connect with those fans pretty easily. Mm-hmm. How do you guys use social media? Is it Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram? What seems to be your poison?
We use it all. We like to get it all, man. We love communicating with our fans, and you know, whatever way we can do that, if it's Snapchat or Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, we like to just be out there and be accessible to our fans. And I feel like, you know, even just small things, like if you like someone's tweet or you like their picture, it could make someone's whole day. You know, we see people just like freaking out over just little things, and And we listen to our fans. That's how we pick singles a lot of times. I mean, Nothing Like You, we picked that single because our fans were like, we saw them, talking about that song a lot, so we picked that. And we actually, Obsessed was from, we saw that, being tweeted all the time, and so that's how we kind of got that song title idea. And, it's just one of those things where we like to listen to our fans, and we're always on there, always just, trying to keep in touch with our fans, and I feel like that's really important. And anything that we can do, Snapchat, stupid videos, whatever it is, and people like to see that stuff. So
Oh, they love it. Actually, that's the part they love. They're not necessarily interested in when you're playing.
Yeah,
Exactly. No, they aren't.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
odd. It's one of those things that we've, even as a social media outlet, we've kind of realized that the fans aren't really worried about the shows. They want to see you guys doing funny stuff.
Yeah.
What you had for dinner, what you had for lunch.
It's crazy.
Hanging out with your dog. That just tends to be the way.
You must follow our Snapchat.
Yeah. All right. You guys mentioned cover songs, Bon Jovi, stuff like that. Is that you guys like to insert it into your set on a regular basis?
Yeah, man, we've got 3 guitar players on stage. That's a good place to start with the guitar harmonies and a lot of electric, throwing it back to the 80s. But we've also got he can sing those songs. There's not a lot of people that can sing like people did in the 80s, super high like that, like Bon Jovi and Journey. And who else did we cover? We covered Def Leppard, Hall & Oates, a bunch of people, The Outfield. So it's a lot of fun, it's a great showcase for Shay's voice, and we have fun singing those songs, and those are classics. Everybody knows those tunes, and we bust into it. They usually start with like just a loud vocal, all these harmonies, and blast it into the crowd, and everybody gets amped up on those tunes. So it's fun to do that. And those songs, like if you cover those are always going to be timeless. But if you cover something that's out on the radio right now, in a few months, it might kind of have gone by the wayside, and you're like, well, that's an old song. We got to cover something new. Yeah. You just stick to the classics, and you're good to go.
Yeah, you're golden. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for doing this. Really appreciate it. Good
Thank
seeing
you
again, guys.
Good to see you too, man.
See you, brother.
Dan Shay, Obsessed. Make sure you grab it now.
Do it.
Like you and we'll be